What's going on, guys? How y'all doing? It's Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I wanted to do a quick video showing you guys BlackArch Linux. So just to give you a quick overview of what BlackArch Linux is, it's a penetration testing distribution that's built for security professionals, similar to Kali Linux and Parrot OS. So the first thing I want to do is go to their website. I already have it up. It's basically blackarch.org, and I'll read a little bit about it. BlackArch Linux is an Arch Linux-based penetration testing distribution for penetration testers and security researchers. The repository contains over 2,000 tools. You can install tools individually or in groups. BlackArch Linux is compatible with existing Arch installs. So with that being said, you can install it on top of your Arch. You can install the tools on top of your Arch Linux install that you already have. It says, for more information, see the installation instructions. Please note that BlackArch is a relatively new project. So, but it's worth checking it out. So I just want to show you what it's all about. But here are a few of the screenshots, as well as these are the developers. So you can check all this out if you want to. And the installation instructions are on here. I believe it's a guide under here, but I'm going to show you exactly how to install it though. But this, the first thing you need to do is download the ISO. Just like all Linux distributions, download the ISO, burn it to a flash drive if you want to install it, or burn it to a DVD if you have a DVD drive anymore. And just to show you, BlackArch, the live ISO, is actually 11 gigs, so it's best to have a flash drive to install or write the BlackArch Linux image onto a flash drive. And then there is the net install ISO, which it'll just pull everything down for you during the installation. So that might be a better choice if you don't have a USB drive sitting around. You can download this and put it on a CD if you have one, and install from there. So and they give you a little instructions on how to actually write the ISO. It's not hard. You using DD if you have a Linux distribution already. You should be familiar with DD, which basically writes the ISO to the drive for you. Not sure what the OVA image is. You can run this image on, oh yeah, you can download this has everything installed, and you can just open up the image using this image in the VirtualBox or VMware. So, and also just to show you, these are the instructions on installing on top of Arch Linux. So if you already have Arch Linux, they have some instructions on how to install all the packages via the command line on top of your Arch Linux install. So, and that's pretty much it, all I want to go through. So let's get started with the install. So today I'm going to be installing BlackArch in a VM. I've already built the virtual machine. It's basically BlackArch, and I'll show you the settings. Well, actually, I'll just show you right here. So BlackArch 64-bit. I gave it 4 gigs of memory. I gave it two processors. I maxed out the memory. Display or video memory. I've also attached the ISO and gave it a 50 gigabyte hard drive. I also set up the network adapter to be bridged, so it'll be bridged with my host network adapter. That way it gets its own IP address. So let's get started with the install. I'm gonna boot up the ISO. And basically we could just boot up into the main BlackArch. Okay, so the default username is root and the password is BlackArch. Press enter. And this is pretty much the desktop. And the way you access the menu is by right clicking on the desktop anywhere. And you can open up a terminal. They have browsers, networking. And this is all the BlackArch tools. It's basically the same tools that are in Kali Linux. It's just all on Arch. So let's open up a terminal and start the install. And the way you install BlackArch is by using a built-in script. And it's basically BlackArch dash install. And there is no graphical installation. It's basically a script that goes through and does everything for you. You just have to, guide it through the installation, just like all the GUI installers. It's the same thing. It's just selecting, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as well as setting up the hard drive by partitioning and all that. So, but you'll see all that in a second. So the first thing we want to select is 1, which is basically install Black Linux repository online. And this is the simplest way to install. 2 is basically install from BlackArch Live ISO. And the third option is install from source using Blackman. I've never done either of these two. I've only just done 1. So we select 1. All right, and I'm gonna do verbose so you guys can see all of everything that pops up when we're going through this installation. Okay, so verbose, and that basically will give you the output of everything. So when it's running the pacman commands, when it's running copy commands, all that, it's gonna show all that information. But normally you would select the quiet mode. That way it doesn't really give you much feedback. It's just doing this thing in the background, and it'll let you know when it's finished. So at this step we want to set the locale. So let's just go 1. And the default is the English US. So I'm gonna just press enter on that. It's gonna set it to the default. And here, this is the key map. It's just, like I said, this is just like any other installer. You're just looking at the command line. You're not seeing any, little pretty menus where you're going through and selecting this stuff. It's just, a simple type and you're good to go. So this is the key map for your keyboard. So it's US. The default is US. So you just type US and press enter. And we can set up the host name at this point. And I'm gonna just name it BlackArch. And press enter. Okay, and so here, since I know I already have an internet connection, I'm not gonna trip about it. But if you connect it to a router, and you can select 1, and it'll auto set up your DHCP and all that stuff if need be. As well as Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is the one I've had to do when I didn't have a Cat 5 cable, and I'm not speaking of just BlackArch, just any Linux in general. I've especially Arch based distros. When you're building the actual distribution, or you're going through the installation, you have to set up your Wi-Fi, because Arch is kind of one of the more difficult distributions out there. But anyway, I'm gonna skip this step because I know I already have internet connection, and we can test that really by opening up another terminal. Boom, and we could do like a ping to google.com. Boom, and we can see that we have internet connection. So I'm gonna exit that, and 4 is the option if you're already connected to the internet. So I'm running 4, There we go. And it's going to check the internet connection. It's going to see if it needs a new version. Right now it needs let's see, getting errors. We'll see what happens. A new version is available. And one thing about this this install is funny. They have a lot of stuff in here that that you shouldn't say, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, you'll see it when you come through the installation. Like, they'll make jokes talking about noob. Well, anyway, this the script actually stopped because there was a new installer that came out, and on this ISO, I'm assuming this ISO is like a couple of days. I can't remember when I downloaded it. I think it was about a week old. I guess they came out with a new version of the installer, so I had to. The installer said, "Oh, let me get the newer version," and pulled it down. And now I gotta go through the install again. So just bear with me. I'm gonna go through this pretty quick, because I had to, start over. So let's go 1 here. I'm gonna do verbose here. Set the locale, default. Set the key map. US BlackArch is the host name. Press enter, and then we're gonna skip because we know we have an internet connection. And now it shouldn't fail. I don't know why why we getting them errors like that, but it's going forward. So we're gonna see, and this will fix the mirrors for you. It's gonna look for the best server connection based on your location, and it should pull everything down that you need and fix that location. The server list that they have on the system. So there we go. Now it's synchronizing. All right, so this is the partitioning part. We have to specify what it is. So it's only one hard drive on here, so I don't have to worry about it. If you had 2 hard drives on here, to show 2, and you have to specify where you want things installed. But since it's just one, I'm gonna partition it and show you how to do that. So you basically type in the actual hard drive, which is SDA. Now this question right here is basically asking, do you want to install Black Linux with Windows or other OSs? And I'm gonna select no, because this is just VM. It's not being dual booted. So some people may need to select this option if you want to keep your Windows installation or other installation and you just want to install it alongside. Since this is a fresh install on a clean hard drive, then we're gonna select no. So now we're gonna go through and partition the drive, and what this installer uses is CF disk, and let's just press Y, enter. This is in memory 0 partition table, and hit yes. And now here, what you want to do is select the label type, which is the disk label type, and the best one for this situation is DOS. So go down to DOS, press enter. Now this will show you the hard drive and the free space. Obviously it's nothing on it. It's a brand new disk with 50 gigabytes of space. So first thing we need to set up is the first drive we need to set up is the boot. Yeah, the boot always goes first. So we can set that up as 500 megabytes, which is a recommended size, which is fine. We could just type 500 M, press enter, and we can make it primary. And as you can see, it automatically selects the type as Linux, which is fine. Now let's build our swap. So we want to go new, and since I gave this thing 4 gigs of memory, I'm gonna give it 4 gigs of swap space, which, I mean, swap is really not needed now, especially when you have a lot of a lot of these systems now have a lot of memory in them, so swap is really not needed, but I'm gonna put it there anyway because it's best case. So let's press primary is fine, and then we can go down to the remainder of the space, press new, and I'm gonna select all the space, primary. All right, now one other thing we need to do before we write this, I need to change the type of SDA2, which is that second partition, the one we created for the swap space, to the type of Linux swap. So we can go over, as you can see, I'm moving over, press enter on type, and we can just go to 82, which is Linux swap. Press enter, and now SDA is set as Linux swap. And now we're good to go. So we can go over to actually write this to the table, to the actual write these partitions to the actual drive. So press enter there, and what it's going to do is make sure you want to do this, because now it's making changes to the actual hard drive by wiping anything that's on there. But since this is, like I said, a clean drive, we don't have to worry about that. But if you got some stuff on there you don't want wiped off, you better make sure you're doing what you better make sure you're doing this right. So that's why it asks you, are you sure? So you just basically type yes. That's why they make you type yes, and instead of just Y. So press enter there. Now we're good. We can go over to quit, and our partitions are built, and it will continue with the script. All right, so you may want to use full encryption of the root. If you're installing this on actual hardware, you might want to choose that full encryption. But since, like I said, I'm doing this in a VM, so no, I don't want any encryption. All right, so this is where we specify the partitions to the actual location of the Linux operating system. Basically the boot directory, we want to specify the partition for that. So you basically have to go in and specify it. So we go dev, we set up SDA1 for the boot partition. So let's press enter on that, and we want to set the file system type, which we want to set it to ext4, which is the default. And then here we go again. This is the actual root location. Now don't forget that we set the root on under SDA3, which is the last port of the hard drive. We specified that area for the root partition, so you got to make sure you specify SDA3 and press enter, and then we want that ext4 as well. Now then, the last port is the swap space. So we already know what that is. So it's dev and then SDA2, which is our swap space, and all we have to do is specify that partition, and it knows that it's swap. So it's going to show you an example of what everything's going to look like, and all you have to do is type yes here. So boot is on SDA1, which was the 500 megabytes. SDA was like the 45 gigabytes, and then swap is the 4 gigabytes of space. So type Y for enter, and then this is going to format all the partitions. So just hit yes. And like I said, this is another example of the little funny stuff it says no crying afterwards. Are you sure? So it's pretty funny. But just type Y for yes, and it's going to format the partitions. Setting up swap space. Now it's going to start, I believe it's going to start installing everything at this point. Yes. So I'm going to take a break. This is going to take a little time, and I'll come back at the next prompt. Okay, so we're now at the next step, and it's basically changing the root password. So you can set it to whatever you want, just kind of make it strong, and also set it to something that is different from the user account you're gonna set up if you want to run this as a separate user account. So we can go yes, and I'm gonna set up one called Josh. It's gonna set up the account, go through add user command, and then as well as run the password command, and then we can set a password for that user account. Now that user account won't have sudo privileges by default, which is fine. We can set that up later. So yeah, now it's gonna download the rest of the packages and then install. Yeah. Okay, so the next step is to set up your time zone. Since all those packages were installed, it's the next step. So you just press Y to set up your time zone, and it will list them all out. Now I already know mine. It should be America, and then / Los Angelos, and I'm on the West Coast, so I'm pretty sure that's what mine is. So I should accept that. Cool. So now here it's gonna ask you to select your default mirror. It's just basically the one that's closest to you, which is what they'll do. So you just press enter on here and it'll get the default. Now this here is going to ask you if you want to set up a 11x and the window manager. So we could just type Y for yes. And like I said, it's going to talk about you. It says noob, noob, noob. So it's going to install everything. And what I want to do is select all. And this will get the window managers. They got the awesome DWM, Fluxbox, i3. I've heard of OpenBox, I never use it, and Spectrum. So I'm gonna just do 7, that way it installs them all. Just press enter. It's probably gonna call me a noob again in a minute. And then one cool thing about this installer, it realizes that you're on a VirtualBox, and so it'll install or set up the VirtualBox modules. So just press yes. It'll install all the modules for it, guest utilities and all that stuff. And I believe the next thing it should ask you if you want to install the VMware. I know when I installed it in the past, it asked you VMware, and this is not on a VMware VM, so I'm gonna just say no, just to make it the video a little shorter. That way it skips that step. So now this is where it's going to set up all the Linux tools, the BlackArch Linux tools. See, the operating system is installed with all the normal packages. Now this is where you're getting into your BlackArch Linux tools install. And it's basically all the tools plus some that they chose for the BlackArch distribution that are security tools. So we can just hit yes, and it's gonna ask you, because you can break it out by groups. You don't have to install everything. But since this is going to be destroyed after this, I'm going to use the default, which is BlackArch, which I recommend you to do as well. That way it installs all the packages, like all the tools that you would need for this. And this is going to be the long install, because it has to get all those tools and install them on the system, and so it's going to take up a lot of space. That's why I gave it 50 gigabytes on the install. And like I said, this whole thing is going to be deleted after this, so I don't care. But so I just want to walk you through and show you it installing, how long it takes. And that's why it says up here, grab a coffee. So that's the best thing to do at this point. So like I said, this is the main package, which is BlackArch, or the main group, and this will install all of these packages underneath it. Or you can go through and pick out certain ones you want to install. So if you want to install just the crypto tools, you could type BlackArch-crypto, and let's say you want to get the database tool as well, you put a space in between it, and then type BlackArch-database, and then let's say we want to get the BlackArch networking, so we put a space after that and put BlackArch networking, and it will just install those 3 packages that we specified, or groups that we specified. But since we want everything, I'm gonna just do BlackArch. Press enter. This will take a while, so Okay, cool. So we're done with the install. As you can see, this is another one, a little play on words they put through the installation. Say your new backdoor in your system, and basically say hack the planet, door the planet. So that's pretty much it. Once you're done with that, we can get out of that ISO. So I'm gonna just do, and actually I don't need to do sudo. Just go shutdown now. And what I want to, the reason I did shutdown now, because it's not gonna unmount the ISO automatically. So I gotta kind of go in here and unmount it from the system, and then we'll bring up the system. Yeah. Remove this from virtual. All right, cool. So now we can boot up. And it should bring up grub and everything. Yeah, there we go. So BlackArch is installed. I'm not gonna look too deep into this distribution as far as the tools that are added to it. It's, like I said, it's just like, if you know about Kali Linux, then you'll understand BlackArch. It's just ran on an Arch distribution, on top of an Arch distribution. It's all the tools all in one place on the Arch distribution. Okay, so if you look at this, there are a couple different desktops. These are all the desktops that we installed during the installation. I'm gonna just go with the default just to show you guys, and then you can, whatever desktop you choose, you know what I'm saying, you can just select it there and log in, and you'll be good to go. One thing I want to say about this OS is not made for new users. Most of the programs that are installed, that we install, are command line based, and I just want to reiterate that this OS is basically built for, or distribution is built for security professionals and people that are trying to get into pen testing, working for red teams and all that good stuff. So all that high speed stuff, if you want to get into it, this is a good OS, similar to Kali, and all the training is based around Kali, but you could use all those same tools within BlackArch. So I just want to point that out, and reiterate that it is not for new users. So let's just start with the top of the menu. You know, you got your terminals, you got your browsers, your different browsers. It comes with Firefox and Chromium installed. Network settings, you can go in there and mess with that. And under the BlackArch menu, this is where all those applications that you want to use to do certain things. But anyway, thanks for checking out the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe to the channel for more Linux content. And of course, keep it techie.